Okay, so video number 3 in this series. We've already covered what to expect in 2018 when it comes to Bitcoin and Litecoin. So now it's Ethereum's turn. And just a big fat disclaimer for you all, I am completely personally biased when it comes to Ethereum. It's my favorite cryptocurrency. It's the one that I have most of my money invested in. And so just be mindful of that at all times and question everything I say. And just like I did for the Litecoin video, I'm going to kick this one off with a bit of a quote. This time coming from Vitalik Buterin, who of course is one of the founders of Ethereum, and so this is what he has to say about Ethereum's prospects for 2018. I expect 2018, at least within the Ethereum space that I'm best able to speak about, will be the year of action. It will be the year where all of the ideas around scalability, plasma, proof of stake, and privacy that we have painstakingly worked on and refined over the last 4 years are finally going to turn into real, live, working code that you can play around in a highly mature form, in some cases on testnets, and in some cases even on the public mainnet. Everyone in the Ethereum space recognizes that the world is watching and we are ready to deliver. Boom. Vitalik didn't say boom, that was me. But yeah, so in my opinion, that's hugely encouraging words from Vitalik there, and he of all people should know kind of how Ethereum development's going on right now. And so for the rest of this video, I'm basically just going to spell out what some of those developments are, some of the ones that he mentioned, and just some of the main events you can look forward to in 2018 for Ethereum. It's not going to be any kind of chronological order or order of importance. It's just the ones that I happen to kind of go down on the list. But yeah, so let's go right into those now. So we'll start with Constantinople, which is going to be the second part of the Metropolis upgrade. If you remember, we had the first part, Byzantium, in October, I think. And this one now will introduce a bunch of new features to the Ethereum protocol, most notably the kind of first iteration or the first version of Casper, i.e. Implementation of proof of stake. It's going to create a hybrid between the two consensus mechanisms where most of the time you'll continue to see proof of work based mining, but a small portion of the blocks, about 1 in 50 of them, will be validated using proof of stake instead. You'll be able to join in and do some of this yourself if you have around about, I think it's 1,000 Ether that you're prepared to stake. I don't, and so unfortunately I'll just be sitting on the sidelines watching this one. But still, an absolutely hugely exciting development nonetheless. We're once again going to see the effects of the difficulty time bomb. That was delayed for a little while with the Byzantium upgrade, but that delay has been kind of coming to an end now, meaning that we're going to be once again heading towards an ice age now where mining becomes increasingly more difficult and increasingly less profitable to kind of ready people and miners for that transition to proof of stake. One final thing that's probably worth mentioning when it comes to Constantinople as well is Ethereum Improvement Protocol number 86. And among other things, this will allow transaction fees to be paid via smart contracts, rather than the current system that we have right now where the sender has to deal with paying the gas fees. Later on in the year, we should expect to see the very final version of Casper where the Ethereum protocol fully transitions from proof of work to a system based entirely on proof of stake. I can't emphasize enough just how much of a huge event this is for both Ethereum and the cryptocurrency market as a whole. This kind of transition from proof of work to proof of stake has never been done on such an enormous scale before. In fact, there's never been any kind of implementation of proof of stake the size of Ethereum before, and so this is very much uncharted territory, so it could be an absolute roaring success or a catastrophic failure, and obviously most of us are hoping for the former rather than the latter. This will be the main event for Ethereum in 2018. All eyes will be on it, and so, it just has to perform. As for what the potential upsides and downsides could be, the people who argue for it, who believe it's a good thing, will argue that it's better for the environment. You don't need to issue as many new coins, there's less centralization risks, and it becomes much more expensive to try and launch a 51% attack on the network. The most widely cited criticism of proof of stake is what's called the nothing at stake problem, which is that because creating forks is much less costly with proof of stake because it doesn't require all the kind of expensive electricity power that you would require with proof of work, there are concerns that this could lead to abuse and attempts to double spend, since block generators have nothing to lose by voting for multiple blockchain histories. Only time will tell, I suppose, as to whether or not this will be a success or not, but I certainly believe in it, and either way, I just can't wait to see what happens. Another important and very exciting development is Plasma. This is a scaling solution that uses smart contracts to create hierarchical trees of sidechains. And if you don't know what sidechains are, just think separate blockchains. I've read around online about this, and the way that people like to describe it is that you have a child blockchain that has a parent blockchain that will periodically relay that information back to the root blockchain, which in this case is Ethereum. So if you take a dApp like CryptoKitties would exist on its own separate blockchain. That's where all of the transactions would occur, and then every once in a while that dApp will relay the information back to the Ethereum protocol. It's important to note that because these are sidechains, they don't clog up the Ethereum protocol with all kinds of cumbersome data and information. And because there's no limit to how many of these off-chain child blockchains that can be created, it allows for potentially infinite scaling as well. Plasma is an enormously significant development when it comes to enabling Ethereum to scale to a kind of worldwide audience. I think right now Ethereum is capable of processing up to about 10 transactions per second. With Plasma, tests so far have achieved up to 5,000 transactions per second, which is 250 times what it is right now. And in its final form, it's thought that this will enable Ethereum to scale up to 100,000 transactions per second as well. So enormously exciting. I can't wait to see this. Next up after that, although the ICO cash grab is something that left a bit of a sour taste in most people's mouths, including my own, I think you have to mention Raiden too. Raiden is essentially Ethereum's version of Bitcoin's Lightning Network. Just think of the guy, Lord Raiden from Mortal Kombat, who used to shoot, lightning out of his hands. If you haven't already seen it, I'd recommend you check out my Bitcoin What to Expect in 2018 video, where I explain what Lightning Network is all about. But to briefly summarize here, Raiden, just like Lightning Network, is an off-chain scaling solution that will utilize payment channels to allow for almost instantaneous transactions at a fraction of the price. One very cool thing about Raiden as well is that it's compatible with ERC20 tokens, which means that payment channels can be used for certain tokens that deal with a huge amount of transactions. This will hopefully be another way that we can deal with some of the congestion issues that we've seen with Ethereum, especially with the likes of CryptoKitties and all that as well. So again, a dApp like that could just create its own payment channel, deal with all of those transactions off scale, save the Ethereum protocol from all kinds of congestion and dealing with information. It will hopefully enable things to run much more smoothly. Added to that, you have MicroRaiden, which is a P2P system within the Raiden network that allows for micropayments. And you'll eventually have RaidX2, which is going to be a decentralized exchange running on the Raiden network that will utilize atomic swaps. If you don't know what those are, go back to my Litecoin What to Expect in 2018 video, where you'll be able to interchange between various ERC20 tokens. Raiden is a huge deal for Ethereum, just in the same way that Lightning Network is for Bitcoin. And so even though there was all this controversy around the ICO and people are still annoyed about it, my hope is that throughout 2018, people will be more focused and more excited about the tech itself and the possibilities that Raiden Network opens up to us all, rather than just focusing on the negative side of it. And then the final thing that I want to cover in this video is quadratic sharding. Whether we'll actually see this implemented in 2018 is debatable and perhaps a little bit too optimistic. I don't know. But what is worth mentioning is that Vitalik Buterin recently mentioned that part 1 of Ethereum's sharding roadmap is nearly done, so that's an encouraging sign to say the least. And whenever this does come out and kind of released on the public mainnet, this is going to be another huge, extremely important development for ultimately scaling Ethereum. And the idea behind it is that eventually we'll be able to move away from relying on full nodes that store the entire blockchain and instead towards nodes that only have to store a portion of that data or a portion of that blockchain. So it's basically breaking the Ethereum protocol down into separate pieces or shards, just think of like a shard of a glass, that are placed on different servers and can communicate between each other as and when needed. Just like with Plasma, this is another development that is thought to enable Ethereum to scale up to thousands of transactions per second. And some people have even estimated that sharding could enable Ethereum to one day scale up to 1 million transactions per second as well. So bearing all that in mind, when you kind of step back and you think about what Ethereum might be capable of once it fully implements the likes of Plasma, Raiden, sharding, Casper, proof of stake, I think it's looking incredibly exciting. And that's not even the end of it too. There were so many developments that I could have mentioned when I was researching for this video, and it might be worth in the future making a kind of sequel to this one or an advanced version. But a couple of honorable mentions that are worth including as well are the likes of ZK Snarks, Perun, if that's how you pronounce it, I don't know, Truebit, Socrates, Digix, Maker, Swarm, State of the dApps, Whisper, and all of the ICOs and companies that are eventually going to launch on the Ethereum protocol as well. And so it's because of all of this that I think that Ethereum is going to have the most incredible 2018 compared to virtually every other cryptocurrency out there as well. But again, go back to the start of this video, I have my own personal biases, and of course I am invested in this as well, so I'm desperate to see it do incredibly well. But what do you guys think? Is Ethereum going to have an amazing 2018, a not so great year? Are many of these ideas going to be delayed? Are they not going to be implemented in the way that we hope that they will? Do you think there's any chance at all of some kind of flippening throughout the course of this year? Whatever you're thinking, please let me know in the comment section down below. And let me know as well whether you think I should make more of these kinds of, blank what to expect in 2018 videos. I'm more than happy to make them if there is a sustained demand for them. And if I'm going to make those, let me know which cryptocurrency you'd like me to cover next. As always, I'd ask that if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'll be back with more videos very soon now, so thank you. Cheers.
Your